Hello, it's Jennifer, and this is my last video for my favorite crafty things. Today I'm talking on my blog about fun inspiration and other types of paper crafts I like to do, so I thought I'd do a video on the We Are Memory Keepers punch boards. So I showed you the other day the envelope punch board, but today I want to show you the gift box punch board, the candy box punch board, the gift bag punch board, and the pillow box punch board. So there are 4 different products that I'm going to show you today, and I think they're all fun in their own sort of way, so hopefully by watching them you can choose if one of them would be something that you'd like to try. Now the other day in some videos I showed the envelope punch board, so I'm not going to show it again here, but I will put a link so you can see a video on how to do the envelope punch board. This envelope punch board makes envelopes of pretty much any size that you can imagine. It's very easy to do. Instructions are right on there. It's easy to follow. And you can see you can get adorable little envelopes from any kind of pattern paper or cardstock. In another of my videos, I showed how you could use the envelope punch board to also make boxes that you can put your cards and envelopes in. So it's the same tool, it's just using it a different way. So I'll put a link to this video also so you can make little boxes for your cards. It looks like an envelope box. But today I wanted to show you the other punch boards that We Are Memory Keepers recently came out with. My favorite of the additional punch boards is the candy box punch board. I think this is absolutely adorable. And this punch board is the easiest of the additional 4. So the directions are right here on here. It says no matter what, you should trim your paper to 7 inches wide, and then you can make it as long as you want depending on how long you want your candy box to be. So for this example, I've cut my paper to 7 inches wide as it says, and I decided to do a small one, so it's only 6 inches long. You could go all the way up to 12, and you want to put the 7 inches width across the top there. Now what we're going to do is line up the edge of our paper with the start line and punch. We're going to punch on every move we make. So I punched it by pushing that button. Now we're going to take it and shift it over. By the way, the instructions are right there, and it comes with the handy instruction pictures that you can follow. I'm going to move it right up so it fits right up against that diamond, but up right against the diamond, and it also happens that your score line lines up with that little point sticking out of the button, and I'm going to punch it again. So now I'm going to take this out after I've punched it, and I'm going to move it over again. And look, we have a diamond, and watch how easy this is. You put it right on top of the diamond that they have on the board. So now that this is lined up, we're going to do 2 things from here on out. We're going to score right along that diamond. We couldn't score before because we were at the edge of the paper. And we're going to punch. Very easy. Now we're going to move it over and do the exact same thing again. Line up the diamond. We're going to score and we're going to punch. By the way, this comes with its own scoring tool there, but I'm just using mine because I like mine. Now I've moved it over, I've score and punch again, and then we are moving it right over to the last spot. Oh, all I have to do here, I don't need to punch, all I need to do is score. So now we've done one side of this, very easy. Next we have to do the other side, so all I'm going to do is flip this paper over and do the exact same thing. Line it up with the start line and keep going, moving it over, doing the exact same moves that we made last time. Very easy to do, and it's very quick to crank a bunch of these out. Now all of these punch boards have a back side where you can put the paper on the other side to give a finished look. So I'm going to take my paper and line it up with the 2 tops of the diamonds there and punch it again, and go through and do this on all the diamond tops. So I'm lining them all up and just punching as we go across. This is so easy to do, and it just gives this nice finishing edge. You could skip this if you wanted to, but it really makes a big difference in the end. So now that I've done that side, I'm going to flip it over and do it on the other side. Very easy to do. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go through and just kind of reinforce all my score lines, all my vertical score or my horizontal score lines here. And then I always end up with this little 1/2 inch flap here. This little flap is where we're going to put our adhesive. So I've got it folded over, put my adhesive. Now I'm going to take this entire candy box and fold it right on top of itself. Right over on itself, and there we have the candy box. Very easy. Now this is the fun part. You get to take any kind of string, ribbon, or twine, whatever you would like, and tie it around the edge. What I do is I do a double knot so it doesn't pop undone, and then I put a bow onto it. So you could fill this with candy, you could fill it with a long one, you could fill it with pencils. I'm going to do that for my son's school, make a long candy box and fill it with pencils for the holidays. Lots of things you can do with this. Wrap up some jewelry. I would wrap whatever you're doing in some plastic wrap or some tissue paper and put it in there first, just so that it doesn't fall out when they open it, but it's totally up to you. Now remember, you could have changed the length of your paper so you could have longer candy boxes if you wanted to. Also, you can close off these ends. Right now there's a little opening on the ends, but if you have something wrapped in there, it doesn't matter. If you want to, you could squirt some adhesive in there and kind of squeeze these shut so that the ends are completely closed. So it could be closed like this and still be as cute as a button. Totally up to you how you want to do that. But I think this is a great tool, and I'll be using this candy box punch board for lots of the wrapping of my holiday gifts. Now this next punch board is a very easy one to put together also. It's the pillow box punch board. The board makes it very easy and intuitive on how to do this, but remember there are instructions that come with it. So right here on it, it says you trim the paper width to 6 inches always, and then you can make your paper length anywhere between 4 and 12 inches. So I have a 6 inches wide here and I'm doing about 8 inches long. Now if you look, I have the 6-inch wide across the top, and I'm going to line up the edge with the start line and press the punch button. And look at the scoring. It's really easy. You just score right along this curve. It says it right on the arrow there. And then score down this notch. You just put your scoring tool right up against the edge and go right down the notch. Then you move it right over and look at it. It fits right into this nook, and also your score line lines up with that point. You punch again. And once again, you score across that little curve line and down this score line on the side. There are marks on the board that make it clear what you need to do. Now we're going to move it over once again, fit it right up into that nook, line up that line and push the button, and then once again just do that little bit of curve line right here, the scoring on the curve line. No need to score on the other end because the paper's done. So there we have one side done. So now you just flip it and do the exact same thing on the other side. Very easy to do. Now I'm fast forwarding a bit, and so I'm at the finishing touch here. I'm going to do my last punch and my last tiny little score here, and we have the finished piece. Now there is these little curves here on the end, these small little pieces. We're going to go ahead and cut that off. By the way, sorry, my daughter handed me some buttons here into the camera. I'm going to go ahead and cut these little notches off on both ends. That just helps in getting a finished look. Very easy to do. And now I'm just going to kind of reinforce all those score lines we made. I just kind of work these pieces here. It doesn't say to do this in the instructions, but I think it helps out a little bit. And then you're going to go ahead and fold along the score lines. You can use your bone folder for this, but I don't fuss with it. Now also, if you reverse the punch board around, the back side always has a finishing touch, and you can go ahead and put little notches here. And these are little finger notches that make it easier to open. So now I have this tiny little flap. Once again, I'm going to cover that with adhesive. Just make sure you put lots of adhesive on there so it doesn't pop open. Fold it down onto itself, and there you have the beginning of your little pillow box. So now I'm going to go ahead and start pushing these ends in, and then so I do the solid flap first, then the flap with the little notch so it's easy for them to open, and then I'll do the other side. This would be fun to make longer and put some pencils in, or put a necklace in, or shorter, and you can put it in maybe like a money or a gift card in there. I really think this is fun. Just wrap some string around it and you're good to go. Fun little box. I probably like the candy box a little bit better, but it's totally personal preference. The next punch board is the gift bag. I love the final results of this one, but it takes a little more work. So I'm going to try to explain that really good here so you can see it in action. Here's the punch board. The instructions are right on it. Pictures come on this side. And you can choose between a width of a bag that is small, medium, or large. I'm going to go with small, so it says to cut my paper to 10 inches wide. Then you can make it as long as you want, between 4 and 12 inches. I decided to go with a short bag, so I'm making it 6 inches long. So I cut a piece of paper that's 10 by 6. Now I wanted to remember which score line to do. It said for 10 inches wide, you want this S score line, the small. So I'm putting a little mark there so I remember. So I have my paper cut here. I'm going to put it into the tool, line up that start line. That's almost how you always start these. And then I'm going to go ahead and press the button, and that's my first punch. Now, this is the front of the bag that we're doing. So we're going to score across the horizontal. Your little scoring tool fits right into this nook, and you go across the horizontal. And then we're going to score down the S line, or whatever line you have chosen. And that's all you need to do there. Now, since the score lines are hard to see in the video, I'm going to trace the score lines with the pencil. You do not need to do this in real life. It's just so you can see on here. So now that we have the front of the gift bag done, we're going to do the side of the gift bag. There's a little more work you need to do here. You line up your score line with the start line, and you press the button. So we've punched it. Now we're going to score that horizontal line once again. This time we're going to score the line marked side. See, it says side up here at the top? So we're going to score that side line, and also this Y shape in the middle, right down this little nook and along these two diagonals. Now let me trace it with the pencil, because then it'll make more sense, because it's starting to look like a gift bag from the side. This seems a little confusing, but I promise you, if you've done it once, they come together quickly again. And there are pictures with the instructions that make it very clear. So now that we have the side done, we're going to do the back of the gift bag. This is the simple one. Line it up with that, line the score line up with the start line, punch, and again, we just score the horizontal and the S line, whatever size, I almost did the wrong one there, but the S line, whatever size bag you've chosen. So I'm scoring the S line. There, we're done with the back of the bag. Now we have to do the other side. So I'm lining up that score line. Let me draw it so you can see it. And we have to do all the extra scores this time. I did my punch every time you do your punch. Now I'm going to score this Y shape because it's the side of the bag, score the side line, and then the horizontal too. This gives us the other side of the bag. So I'm going to draw the line so you can see. Again, this will look like the side of a gift bag. We just have the last finishing edge, move it over, line up the score line with the start line, and punch it, and that's it. So it seems a little complicated the first time, but once you've done it once and realize you alternate between the front and the sides of the bag, it really comes together quite nicely. And it does all the work if you follow the instructions. So remember, you don't need those pencil lines in real life. So now it tells you on the instructions to cut little nooks off these last pieces. This is just the piece that's going to close our bag for us. So now I'm going to go ahead and reinforce all of those score lines. You can use your scoring tool if you want to, but we're going to put this little flap folded over and put some adhesive on it. Again, I would be generous with your adhesive here just so you can make sure your gift bag doesn't come apart. I would squirt glossy accents in at the end. Now we're going to take this and fold it on itself so that that glued flap goes to the other side, and there we have the start of our gift bag, and it's starting to make sense now. So I've put it upside down and I fold the little flaps in first. I don't put any adhesive on there. You can if you wanted to. Then I open it up and just put adhesive on the inside of the bigger two flaps. So I did it on one side. Now I'm going to do it on the other side and then fold these over. Just kind of square it up as you're going. And you can always squirt more adhesive in here when you're done to make sure that it stays nice and tight. Now that I've got that closed, I'm just going to go ahead and use the scoring tool to kind of push those pieces together in the bottom. And there we have our little gift bag. Now, there is a feature on here that I didn't show. On the back side of the scoring tool, you could put the ends of this gift bag into it, and it punches holes at the top. So you can string ribbon through the gift bag top so it has little ribbon handles. It's very easy to do, just like cutting notches in the other one was easy to do. It puts little holes up here. But I like the look of a gift bag with the top just folded over, and then I can wrap a bow around it instead, or put a bow on the front. I don't really like the ribbon on the top, so it's totally up to you. It does come with the option where you can punch the holes at the top. Very easy to do. So there's your cute little gift bag, and again, you can make this much bigger if you wanted to. Now the last one is the gift box punch board. This one is easy to cut, but I had a harder time putting it together, so you just need to play around with it until you're comfortable. Here's the gift box punch board. It's a nice big one, and it has a scoring tool once again. The instructions are on here. There are instructions that come separately with pictures, and then there's a guide here that tells you based on what size box you want, what size to cut your paper, and it also gives you two other marks, what your start line should be and what your diagonal should be. Now it also has it in centimeters also. Now I decided to go ahead and do the biggest box there is, which is 4 by 4. I thought it'd be fun to put cookies in here. So it tells me to cut my paper to 12 by 12, and the start line is XL and the diagonal line is XL. Now I have trouble remembering this, so I'm going to put little pieces of paper, sticky paper, against the two XL lines so that I can remember those measurements. Just makes it easier for me. You could write it down on a piece of paper if you wanted to. Now there is this arm that reaches out if you're doing a big box like I'm doing, so I'm going to go ahead and extend that. So I've cut my paper to 12 by 12 and we're going to get started. Once, as normal, you always start with your edge of your paper lined up with the start line. So my start line's down here on the bottom. I've got it lined up. Always you punch the button, and then we're going to do some scoring. With this one, we're going to always do a horizontal and vertical and a diagonal. So the horizontal and vertical are easy. There's this little nook in here. There's like a little hole where you can put your scoring tool in. Let me open it up, hold it up so you can see there. And you just put it in there and pull straight across for your horizontal. Very easy to do. It kind of guides you right along because there's score lines underneath. Then I'm going to do my vertical by lining up with this side and pulling down. And then there's the diagonal, which is that XL that we've marked up across the top. So I'm going to pull diagonally down here. It'll guide you because there's a groove underneath. And you pull it right down to the score line that you did horizontally. Very easy to do. Seems like it's complicated, but remember there's grooves under there that guide me. So now I'm going to rotate my paper 90 degrees, line it up again with the start line, punch, and do the exact same thing. Pull across for my horizontal, pull down for my vertical, and then pull diagonally from that XL line. Now I think these boxes are much easier to put together if you do a smaller size box. The 4 by 4 that you're going to see here is probably the hardest, so if you can do this one, you're set. So I've finished that one, so I'm rotated at 90, I've punched, and I'm doing my horizontal, my vertical scores, and then my diagonal. Now again, this one takes a little more practice. However, I think it would also have better results if you did cardstock because it's sturdier. So if you're going to do a big box, I would recommend cardstock. So I've rotated 90 degrees, lined it up with the start line, pushed the button, doing my horizontal score line and doing my vertical score line, and now up to the diagonal score line. Again, this all comes together easy, and there are pictures to follow, colored pictures in the instructions. So now I have this all done. I need to put some more notches. So all I have to do is flip my paper over. This time I don't do any scoring. I just line up the end with the start line and punch. So I've lined up the end with the start line there, punch, and then I'm going to rotate it 90 and do that to all 4 sides. So this ends up with 2 notches on each side of the paper, which allows you to put the box together easily. It's time to go ahead and reinforce all those score lines. So you can use your scoring tool if you want to. By the way, I haven't paid attention to which way I've scored and folded all these. I'm just kind of going with the flow here and putting the fun pattern on the outside, not really thinking about it. But you're going to score all your big horizontal and vertical lines here. So you have like a tic-tac-toe board in the middle. Then you're going to go ahead and fold in all these little flaps on the outside. Very easy to do. Now, again, on this punch board, like the others, there's a reverse side of it. You just put the corner of all of the 4 corners right into the nook there, and it just does this little hook. You'll see this little hook. It helps with the closure, which I'll show you in a bit. Now that I've got that all done, I'm going to go ahead and all these triangles, the 4 triangles here that you see, I'm going to cover them with adhesive. I probably should have been more generous than I was. And then you just kind of start pushing them together, and you pinch each side so that you end up with these triangles sticking on the inside of the box. You could not put adhesive in this so that when they open the box it kind of falls open, but I like to have the finished look, so I'm just put adhesive in there to close off all of these little triangles and form the corners of my box. Now, something to keep in mind is you see those little triangles kind of sticking up in there? I'm going to reach in and put some adhesive inside on the side walls of the box so that I can press those little triangles against it so that they're not just kind of hanging there. You could also reach in and put a little piece of tape in there to tape those down, or just a dot of glossy accents to hold it there. But now you have the finished little box. Now to close it, they have those little hooks so that you can reach in and hook this side and then reach over and hook the tops. But to be honest with you, I would skip these little hooks and just use like a sticker closure or use tape or wrap it with ribbon. But it's totally up to you. It's fun to have a little gift box like that. So there you have it, all the We Are Memory Keepers punch boards. You'll see that they're not too tough to use and really make some fun projects. So if you're interested in any of the products, they're linked all below in my YouTube description, or you can head over to my blog at jennifermcguireinc.com where I have this and many other of my favorite crafty things. So this is the end of my favorite crafty things for this year. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again next time.